welcome to the Better Citizens. This is the eighth episode of the Better Citizens, and I am glad to have you. For the viewers, let me introduce you. With me today is Ms. Bhargavi Dawar. She's the managing trustee of Bapu Trust, which specifically works for mental health in the communities. So, without further ado, I think over to you, ma'am. Just introduce yourself to the viewers. Tell us a little bit about your family background, your education, and profession, and all those things before going ahead to your journey with doctors.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Shraddha. My name is Bhargavi Dawar. I was basically a Tamilian from Chennai. Moved to Pune many years ago. I'm settled here with my daughter, Netra, and my education was in philosophical psychology. I did my PhD from the Indian Institute of Technology, Mumbai in 1993.
Right.
And it's been quite a journey after that with the Bapu Trust. It's been 20 years. So Bapu Trust was started with the idea that mental health is a very low priority among families, communities. And usually at that time, and now also, I think so, when people think of mental health, it's okay, let's find a doctor. And then eventually, people start looking for hospitals, mental hospitals, thinking that these are places of care. Unfortunately, many of these places are, they come with very old laws. These old laws are many years old, like 200 years old at least. Many are left behind by the British, so they have the old design, all of that. So eventually families find out that this is not where I want my son, daughter, parent to stay. So we really wanted to create, something different for mental health care. So we started the Bapu Trust. The name Bapu itself is part of the family history. Bapu is my mother's name. She spent much of her, adult years in mental asylums of those days, 1960s. And as a child, I used to visit her along with my brother, Karthik. And it left a very deep and very sad impression on me. It was like, it's an impression that I still carry with me, and I don't want anyone to suffer like that. So Bapu was her name actually, and so she eventually left the asylum. She ran away from there, and then she spent most of her life in temples of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. She wrote poetry. She was a very spiritual person, but she was not understood by her family, my family. As there are many people like Lal Ded and all, Dev Meera. They've been considered as saints for their devotion, to Lord Krishna. She was not considered in the same way. She really suffered, in those days. So Bapu is the name of many people think that it is about Gandhiji. Well, we love Gandhiji and his mission of peace and non-violence. I believe so. My mother was also like that, a peaceful, non-violent, gentle person, very creative person. But this happened to her, and we don't want this to happen to anybody. That's how the Bapu Trust exists.
Ma'am, what motivated you to take up mental health as your profession or as your career, given the background of what you just told us? What encouraged you to come into this field and give your entire lifetime service?
Yeah, so it is this. It's actually the story of my mother, which we grew up with. Almost 20 years of my early life, 5 to 6 years I was in these places visiting her. They were not nice places. If somebody is feeling mentally distressed, why would you keep them in lockup? This I never understood. Why is there a lockup for people who are mentally ill, so to speak? I never understood this until recently, actually, because we have these old laws. These are old colonial laws. This is what the British do. So we have to consider that, is this what we want to do? That the colonizers have left. So as families, as communities, do we not have a responsibility for caring? The Britishers did not care for us. That's fine. I mean, they were there for another purpose, not to give us care.
Right.
But should we not be caring towards our own family members? This is the reason why really a search for a new way of looking at well-being and mental health. This is why this is what has motivated me and still kept me now more so than ever in Corona times. I hope that Bapu Trust will give a message of hope and love and care to people, families. Say that let's care for each other. So the message of care is what we want to give. It's so important.
Right. So coming to Bapu Trust, how many years this has been running, and what are the key initiatives that you have at this NGO?
Yeah. So Bapu Trust is 20 years old, Shraddha, and just last year we celebrated our 20th year. We have a few flagship programs. One is called Seher. Seher works in the low-income communities of Pune, the slums of Pune. We work in about 30 slums. We started out with a small single slum in Lohianagar area, but now we are spread to 30 slums, and the Pune Municipal Corporation is a partner. So it's a private-public partnership, and we have an approach which is called circle of care, generating circle of care. And our vision is not just mental health.
Right.
It's not just mental health treatment. It's about getting people to consider, caregiving to each other and supporting each other. So a lot of our work is about teaching families, empowering families, to reduce anger, to stop quarreling, to find jobs, send their children to school, take care of their nutrition, eat a balanced meal. There is adversity, there are social economic conditions which makes people poor, but it doesn't mean that they should, just stay with that and get into deeper and deeper mental problems. So we help a lot of families around, I think so 500 to 600 families every year. We reach out to thousands of people every year. We have 5 centers which we call community wellness centers. And so the wellness centers are populated by our staff. So we gather people from the communities themselves. We recruit people who have finished their school, who have finished graduation, all of that, and then we train them intensively for a year, almost like that, and then we absorb them into our staff profile. So people who live in the communities deliver the services, teach them basic counseling. So that's the other part, we deliver services, but the other major part of our work is to provide training on psychosocial health, well-being, building resilience, mental stamina, being fit, being happy, reducing depression, anxiety, all of that through holistic measures. So I believe having a program like this, the number of people who actually get into a very high level of severity of mental health problem, I feel that is reduced. And though we do work also with people who, hear voices, they're wandering people, homeless people, we work with them also. But largely we take a well-being approach, prevention, promotion approach, all of that. So this is,
I think all this is making the entire mental health service industry accessible and affordable to people staying in the communities. Because we at CA Foundation also are working in the urban slums, and we see a lot of these community members suffering from mental health issues, and we usually connect with your team members when we come across such situations. I mean, you do tremendous job when it comes to providing preventive measures as well as intervention measures for these people who are in some way underprivileged, and these services are not accessible to them. So I would really want to thank you. doing
No,
this.
no, thanks a lot
And
for. Yeah, no, very, very, very grateful for your partnership. We say that mental health is about partnerships, because we can provide, say, counseling or art-based therapy or all the things that we do. But people have needs, like you said, skills development, livelihoods, secure jobs, finishing schooling, learning any vocational training. Sometimes just basic food. There is so much of food scarcity even today, and particularly today during times of Corona, when gas cylinders are so expensive, and people have gone back to firewood, and so there is all of that. So thank you so much for your contributions to our program. And so we take a holistic development approach. If people need job, then that needs to be treated. You need a social solution for mental distress. So we have at any time, Shraddha, thank you for bringing this up. We have about 120 partners. Somebody is doing self-help groups, somebody is doing bhajans, somebody is doing like sports club, cricket club, whatever, Ganesh mandals. Everybody is a partner to this. So we call this circle of care, and we call this, enhancing the social capital of people. When people have 4-5 around organizations, and people around them say, I'm there to help you, 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 what do you need? I mean, who would fall into deep depression? So there are people around, and this is about human society. This is not tiger society, or it is not some other lonely polar bear society. They all tend to live alone. We don't live like them. We need people around us. So we develop a lot of social connections that works through partnerships. Like we really value your partnership, and thank you for bringing it up.
Going ahead, ma'am, of course, you must have, faced a lot of challenges in this entire journey. And we also want to know a little bit about that. And also, I would like to ask you if there is still a stigma about this topic, even when, we are in the 21st century and there is so much knowledge about mental health now. Is there still, that kind of stigma with regards to mental health and mental illness?
Well, definitely there is, and I attribute that to those old colonial frameworks that we still have in our country. We are post-colonial India. I say that railways is a colonial system, but the mental health system is also a colonial system. And so we found, interestingly, now that you asked, Shraddha, we did a study some time back, and we compared the people's perceptions in our areas, Lohia Nagar, Kashiwadi, which is little center areas. The mental hospital is nowhere close to us. We also did the same survey in Yeravada, where there is not only mental hospital, you have the beggars home, you have the prison, all these are old colonial structures. We found that in Yeravada, people often think of mental illness as Pagalkhana. Whereas in our areas, Lohia Nagar areas where we work, they did not think so. Stigma was much less in a place which is not having this perception that, mentally ill people are dangerous people, mentally ill people are non-productive people, like this. They were not thinking like this. Many were they had a very charitable attitude to someone who is wandering. They were giving them food, chai, biscuit, taking care of them. So we found that, whereas there they would have immediately shunted them to the asylum. So I believe the stigma comes from our history as a colonized people. And we should remember this. This is my view. There is nothing taboo about feeling sad. This is, in fact, in some spiritual traditions, feeling sad makes you a human being. It makes you sensitive to yourself and to others. A melting heart. Having a melting heart is value. It's a good value to have. Why are we afraid of this? And for me, the reason is that we have some old perceptions still, and we should drop those perceptions. They are not of value to us, and they come in the way of our building our trust with our own family members. Imagine if each person in a family started thinking, ये तो पागल है, वो तो पागल है, ये तो पागल है, ये पागल है, इसको भेजना चाहिए, इसको भेजना. Supposing we do this, and in some families they do this, it breaks a bridge. It breaks the bridge of relationship. and we should not be doing that. And this whole pagalpan comes from our colonial history. And we should retrieve our humanity within the family and within households. This is so important.
Right.
There is nothing to be afraid of. This is part of us. This is who we are. We have a brain in a way that no other animal has. And we should cherish that. That's a miracle that we have this brain and this body. So we should cherish that.
Right. I think you said it beautifully, ma'am. That we should in fact experience a range of emotions. Only then, we can say we can call ourselves as human beings. A lot of times, happiness is considered as the utmost, emotion to achieve, and I totally, believe that that is not what we can call as mentally being mentally healthy. So I think experiencing and acknowledging all kinds of emotions at all points of our lives is very important. And if at all people are suffering from mental illnesses, I think families and caregivers should take that ahead and make that an inclusive society as such instead of institutionalizing them. And I think Rapo Trust is doing exactly the same. But as I said, what are the key challenges that you faced in this entire journey? If you can throw some
I
light
forgot
on
that
that.
actually. Yeah. So key challenges, people don't consider mental health as a priority until it reaches like really bad state. People have really given up their job, they've given up eating, they've given up taking care of themselves. Families are quarreling, so they
Yeah.
leave it to very last stage. I wish that people would recognize. There are times when people call us and say, I have a brother. He's 40 years old. For the last 15 years, he's been on psychiatric medication. It has not helped him. So, can you now tell us how he can stop the medication and how he can come back to? I mean, really start thinking fitness when you're when you're really young. Fitness is so important. I'm 58 years old, and I think so that and I leave lessons for my daughter, and she's like, of course, all of 20. So she has like, Mama, what's my future? What am I doing? What should I go? Where should I join? What job I should look for? What skills I should develop? And I try to help her with all that. But I come back to this message for young people: keep fit. Keep fit. See what you're eating. Have an open mind. And there are lots of Google and other YouTube programs to take. Do some meditations, do some activities, do boxing, whatever likes you like. Do cycling. Be physically and mentally fit. If you're physically fit already, you get good benefits for good mental health. So this is something
Right.
that I tell the younger people. But this has been a big challenge, and sometimes we are not able to help, to be very honest, because families have given up hope. There is this whole story about mental illness being incurable. Of course, it is not. It is not. This is a story, and we should believe in ourselves, believe in our family members. We should take those small steps. There are only so many lessons to learn about keeping fit, and it's all out there on the internet. The thing is, do it every day.
Right.
This is so important. And so this has been one big challenge. The other is, of course, as an NGO, we are always short of funds. The needs are high, but funding is always a problem. We have wonderful team with us, and we have excellent partners who work closely with us. I want to mention Just Being Center. There are so many people who are providing amazing services, connecting NGO, working on suicide prevention. There is Lighthouse. We have strong partnership with Lighthouse on jobs. We have good partnerships with a number of agencies. I'm sorry, my list is never going to be complete on that. So we have a number of partnerships, and so there are people who are working, but there is never enough of us, especially for poor communities.
Correct.
Yeah, and it's so important that remember mental health in our daily lives, and everything, little thing matters. Every little thing matters, including finding things in the house. This has been like Corona times. It's been a chore for me because people's needs have increased a lot.
Yeah.
People don't have money, so they don't have food. They don't have rations. House is falling apart because of the rains. So this has been a big challenge. From psychosocial work, we have done a lot of relief measures in the last few months. Because people were just like that, they became poor. We were not prepared for that.
Right.
These are all communities where people have lived and worked for 60 years, and Nagar and some of the areas, Yeroda, Basti, Lakshmi Nagar, all of that. But suddenly it was like overnight poverty. It's quite sad to watch. So we shifted gear and we're doing relief and trauma work right now. Okay. That's what we will focus on for the next 1 year until communities normalize and come back to a stable state.
Right.
These are some of the challenges.
Of course, I mean, despite these challenges, you are still up and running. So, what is it that keeps you going with all these challenges and all the stigma that you have?
Yeah, no, that's a tough one. Every day I wake up and I wake up quite early. Sometimes I can't sleep because the times are really difficult. To be positive and to provide a message of hope today, in days when climate change, Corona, all of that, it has been difficult. But I think so that's, if there are, I draw strength from people who are still working in my communities. I draw strength from my gurus. I have several gurus like who are just out there, giving a message of hope, and deny themselves the pleasure of saying, okay, Corona, let me just go to sleep. No way. Many of us are up and about, and our teachers are up and about, reaching out to people, giving whatever's I'm Buddhist by practice, in a limited way, in a small way, and so it's I really draw spirit and energy from my gurus. Every day I carry them on my head so that I don't forget that right now it's much more of a mission than ever before, and we just have to, whatever the aches and pains and stuff that goes on inside, why am I doing this, all of that, but right now just have to be positive and just have to give the right message to family members, to communities, to co-workers, to peers, to partners, to all of that. So I do extra work to clean my mind. Mental hygiene has become so important. My breathing practice is so important. My daily practice of prayer is so important. My gardening is so important. And I encourage we are now a large team, we're almost 80 people. So we all touch base on, okay, are you okay? Are you not okay? How can we support? Are you doing your daily practice? All of that. Yeah. So as a community, there's a good sense of belonging as a community in the Bapu Trust today. And we've been holding together because of that also. So important. Yeah, there are really some admirable people in the Bapu Trust who spread hope and who are resilient. They may not be spreading hope or just being like happy all the time, but they're resilient. The most important key message from our spiritual practice in the Bapu Trust is, of course, everything is impermanent. And we should not be a cause for more suffering. If anything at all, we should be a cause for less suffering and more happiness. And this is deeply ingrained in our practice. And it is very motivating to think like this.
Ma'am, what as common people, what can we do to spread awareness about this particular topic, or reduce the stigma about mental health? What can we as a community, we as common people do so that we build inclusive communities for everybody, not just for people with mental illness, but also for people with disabilities, people from various backgrounds. So what can we do as laymen?
Yeah, so in Bapu Trust, we start with ourselves first. When you asked about motivation, I started with myself, and everyone in my office, I think so, would start with themselves. So each person in the organization really has to think, how can I keep myself fit? If you don't have an experience of fitness yourself, then to pass on this message to others becomes really, really difficult. We have about 40 to 50 field staff who go out in field areas in the communities. And each one of them, will tell you that I have like these 5, 7 things I do every day for my own wellness. And to carry that message to communities that yes, you can be well. If you're well, then there are these benefits. And for wellness, you can do these things. Don't just have chai and curry or chai and biscuit or chai and bread. Have at least a couple of eggs in the morning. Have more proteins. And so these are the things to carry. That when we think of mental health, we start with depression aisa hai, anxiety aisa hai, a worry is like this, and people know that. What people don't remember, they may know it, but they don't remember is there was a time when many people I've spoken to would say, there was a time when I was not like this. I was not an unhappy person. I was always playful. I used to smile a lot. I had so many friends. I was fit as a fiddle. Now look at me, how I've been. So then for them to know that they had a state of wellness and now they have fallen from that. So what can they do to go back to that? So we have to look at our messaging to our communities. They have to be inclusion messaging. They have to be like wellness messaging. I always say that caring for your father, mother, son, daughter, it is not a natural talent. We are not born with it. At least in contemporary time, we are not born with it.
Yeah.
We have to retrieve that and we have to bring it back. Hey, I'm a human being. I'm supposed to be a caring person. I should watch what words fall out of my mouth. I cannot just say what I want because I think I have some freedoms. So these are the things, how to communicate, what are the good qualities of communication, what will bring more love to you. Then we talk about love. People are afraid to talk about love. As a general, like universal principle of connection between human beings, not that special love and dating, not in that direction. I'm talking about generally love that needs to be there in communities. Yeah. And we've seen a number of altruists who can distribute love, like there are still people, and to learn from that. So I think our messaging and packaging needs to change. We should stop talking about mental illness and talk more about keeping fit and keeping happy, keeping hopeful, and giving that message out.
Correct.
Bapu Trust has created a number of resources, and actually we are very proud of the amount of resources. We created games, we created posters, we created skits, we created activities, which takes this message to communities. We are very happy to connect with you and with others in your partnership. Please do activities around that. Especially during Corona times, we've done so much on messaging.
Ma'am, there are a lot of people, especially youngsters, who want to come into this field as a psychologist or as a person with social work degree, and also a lot of people want to work with NGOs working for this particular topic. So, what are the takeaways? What are the last few messages that you would like to give them? Because, as you said, there are a few challenges, but there are also moments when you have satisfaction because of working in the field and giving lives to others. So, what are some of the messages or takeaways that you want to give such?
Well, for clinical psychology students or psychology students, sometimes most of our psychology is it is coming from Western culture, and it is a very young science. So my advice is take it with a pinch of salt. You will really learn psychology when you exchange with people, listen to their stories, cultivate a sense of empathy, and I seriously recommend this. On the topic of empathy, I seriously recommend this movie which I recently saw. It's a rave on Netflix. It's called Octopus, My Teacher. Everybody please see this. It's that's a big takeaway. We can learn a lot from that. Cultivate empathy. And Bapu Trust, we have regular interns coming in. But the thing is that our field project is completely vernacular. So Marathi speaking, we get lots of students every year. And to remember that as a psychologist, your job is not just diagnostic. You actually develop skills to work with people using different kinds of therapy, and it works. More and more psychology is coming into its own as a discipline in India. It need not be shadowed under medicine. It need not be. You have a very big place to play. And it is a foundational science for mental health. Indigenize it. Read what Indian philosophy has to say. What are the Indian psychological traditions? Adapt it to our cultures. We are beautiful in terms of our diversity. Every community, in fact, slums, when we escalated from one slum to 30, we were like, okay, are we going to learn the same thing everywhere? But no, every community offers something different, and your system needs to adapt to that. The textbook gives you universal principles, but it's your experience which will give you adaptation. And the sensitivity to know when I should adapt and what I should adapt, and how does my communication change? How does my body language change? So we need to be there. Yeah. So psychology is a very potentially very enriching field for this.
Also, and now the demand is so much that I think I would also encourage people to take up courses that work for this topic and this area because mental health professions that we have in India are very less. So I think we should all, especially as common people, we should look at making our society more inclusive. And also for youngsters who want to take up a different field, I think psychology and mental health that require more people, more educated people work out there that more people can be helped. So I think, ma'am, you have shared a lot of your insights and your knowledge about mental health and what Bapu Trust is all about. So thank you so much, first of all, for taking time for this. We will surely connect with you whenever you get this kind of cases, because we are not, we don't have any expertise. We definitely consider something like this. Also, for the viewers, we would like to have some pictures and also the contact details of Bapu Trust, so that if they have anything that they can tell, they can connect. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here.
Thanks a lot for this opportunity, Shraddha, and look forward to being in touch. Okay, bye.